just your typical Super Bowl car ad. Right?
Or a hilarious beer ad.
Or whatever ad this is.
Whatever. But it's a Tide ad.
What?
It's a Tide ad.
What makes it a Tide ad?
There are no stains. Look at those clean clothes. What else would this be an ad for?
Diamonds?
A gift that lasts for
No, Tide.
It's time for a cold refreshment.
Tide ad.
Oh, I want clean clothes. Let's go.
Welcome to Cordkillers, our mission to report the intel from the front lines of the cord-cutting revolution so that you, my friends, have the information you need to be able to watch what you want, when you want, where you want, on whatever device you want. I'm Tom Merritt, and Brian Brushwood is out today. Bryce Castillo, our producer, is here. Brian is inspiring young minds.
Yeah, he's given a talk to the UT someone. I don't know. He's talking to people who aren't us.
He's giving a talk at UT, but he will be back next week. Thankfully, we're very excited to have Jacqueline Coley, writer at Black Girl Nerds and film correspondent at Rotten Tomatoes. Jacqueline, thanks for joining us.
I am so glad to be here, and it's a good thing that he's at UT. I'm just saying, because, I was just in Austin. Now that I'm an LA resident, and every time I hear anything about Austin, makes me happy.
There's a whole Austin connection. Bryce is in Austin right now. Yeah. You were recently in Austin. I lived in Austin for 6 years. It's just a whole pile of Austin love going on with the Cordkillers.
That classic Austin pile.
Yes, exactly. And I should disclose, of course, I mentioned Rotten Tomatoes, where Jacqueline works, also where my wife works. So I have to, make sure that everybody's clear on that.
When did that happen? Is that new?
Have I not mentioned it before, Bryce?
That's weird. I don't.
Yeah.
It's the first time hearing about it.
And did I mention that Jacqueline hosts See It, Skip It, available on the Rotten Tomatoes Facebook channel?
I do remember that. See It, Skip It.
I may have mentioned that once or 15 times. I can't remember.
Very awesome. Super glad to have Jacqueline.
I love it.
Well, at the beginning of the show, Brian's always really better about this than me. We had a little bit of video, as we always do, and this time it was a Super Bowl ad for Tide, starring David Harbour, which I believe may be the new What's Up.
It was great. It was it was I don't know, this funny, weird little idea, and they had all these different types of commercials that would be surprise Tide commercials, including doing a Old Spice ad with the Old Spice actor, and cutting in, and nope, it's a Tide ad.
And
that was my favorite one.
Whistling.
Yeah, with the whistle. And Mr. Clean. There's one with, it starts off with, it's actually Mr. Clean, the little CG Mr. Clean, and then it cuts to him. That's really clever. And I don't know, that's one thing that, all of those are Procter and Gamble brands, and so that's how they're able to do some of that stuff a little easier, It's cool.
I have to say, this was the ad that I thought was pretty clever when I saw it, and then I kept thinking all day long about stuff going, it's a Tide ad, ha ha ha, to myself. So I feel, I don't know if you guys were like that, but I feel like it's in the zeitgeist now.
Yeah, I'm also big on the fake commercials of the Super Bowl, because between that and Dundee and all of these other things where the commercial was trying not to be the commercial, I liked that whole meta aspect of it.
Yeah, plus I like that too. And then you put a little David Harbour cherry on top, right? Because he's just hilarious. So
yeah.
All right. Well, let's get into our primary target then.
Speaking of the Super Bowl.
Yeah. So early on during the Super Bowl, a trailer for Cloverfield Paradox is what the movie that we used to call The God Particle is officially called. Trailer came out. We said, oh, Cloverfield. Started watching the trailer. We're like, all right, that looks interesting. Get some new information about it. And then the big surprise was that it came not only to Netflix, but it came to Netflix last night. Immediately following the game, you could stream this. This is the movie that was supposed to be coming to theaters in April, Jacqueline, and kind of Netflix flexing its muscles, saying, the cool thing about us, we can just buy a movie and distribute it whenever we want.
Yeah, it was pretty brilliant marketing on Netflix's part to just basically say, you know what, we're not going to inundate you with all these trailers and all of this buzz. We're going to essentially spend half of our marketing budget probably just to have an ad in the Super Bowl, and it's going to be amazing. And it got people to watch. And it was a great, brilliant move with Paramount and J.J. Abrams, and good for them. Honestly, I think they're the only people that can do that.
Well, they took all of their marketing energy and they just collected it in one big super bomb during the Super Bowl.
Yes.
Well, 10 Cloverfield Lane was similar in that, it kind of dropped out of nowhere, right? And before the Super Bowl yesterday, there were reports of, the God particle date has been moved up, it's moved back, and we don't have a clarified title. We've been calling it the God particle, and I think we'll be more suspicious of stuff like that now.
Yeah, they're not going to be able to pull this game again, but good for them. The Super Bowl is a great opportunity to do it. It's probably their best shot to, I think, have a bad movie work for them, because Netflix has that it doesn't have appointment viewing, because this movie was not going to make money. I don't think if it would have hit the box office, but they essentially win. They get people to watch it. I think they probably did fairly well, considering that it was something that pulled people away from broadcast television, cutting into that. Folks that are going to watch This Is Us and they're going to watch this instead be very disappointed, as the 17% Rotten Tomatoes score will illustrate, and only I think a 60% audience score, which is fairly low considering.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I thought it was brilliant, and I still think it's brilliant, for Netflix to, differentiate itself by saying, look what we can do. We can surprise you with a gift. Theaters can't do this because distribution is too complicated. We can flip a switch and you get a movie immediately. And before I watched it, I thought, and what a great way to do it with a J.J. Abrams Cloverfield movie. Love 10 Cloverfield Lane. Do it with one that has the best chance of being your best movie yet. Netflix hasn't quite put a movie out there that people all agree is the blockbuster one. They've had some good ones that maybe aren't as popular. They've had some popular ones that definitely aren't as good. But it turns out this is the latter, I think.
Yeah, it's kind of a mess. It's kind of a mess.
But look at Bright. Again, Bright was a film where they said it's critic proof, when in actuality, I don't think they have metrics to measure how many people hate watch something. Yeah. And 10 Cloverfield Lane, the marketing of the previous films, and 10 Cloverfield Lane and Cloverfield, the marketing for those allowed them to do what they did with Paradox. You can't do that with other films. They're going to be mad if you just surprise a film on them where they were really interested to know about it. So I think it sets up a chance for them to do something similar, in the sense they don't need a huge marketing buildup, but it's got to be with the right type of thing. And this was kind of, I think, a magical unicorn.
Yeah, that's a really good point. It has to be something that people immediately get that they would want to try, and not, like you say. I mean, Netflix doesn't care if it's a hate watch or not, as long as it's a watch and it didn't cause someone to cancel. That's all. That's all they care about. And that's what they got with this. I think a ton of people watch this.
Yeah, I just hope it ends up working well, because you're going to divert X amount of people from, say, This Is Us at the end of the Super Bowl to Cloverfield Paradox, which, at the end has a tag, you should start watching Altered Carbon. And I wonder how far down that funnel it'll go for people or not.
Well, I think if they want to be disappointed, they can watch Altered Carbon as well. Sorry, I just did not enjoy that show. I
thought that's where you're going to go with that. It's sort of like...
sorry. I watched a lot of mediocre sci-fi this weekend. Because I will say this about Cloverfield Paradox, not to really talk about the film. It wasn't bad. It just wasn't a film that was going to resonate the way the first two did. They really did catch lightning in a bottle with two very different concepts that now that they, with this film, have made into what can be kind of like a Black Mirror verse. If they want to, they can do a lot of things with it. But I don't know if this is a sustainable marketing ploy. And I'm a little disappointed because Ava DuVernay on Twitter, said, stop down for this. and I was slightly disappointed. Sorry, Ava.
Again, we're not going to talk spoilers on it. We will talk about it in Spoiler in Time separately, but spoiler free. I rose in appreciation for it in like the first 20 minutes. I'm like, okay, this is really interesting. I'm in. Oh, we're up in space. This is great. And then it was just a slow decline from there. Like after the first 20 minutes, I never dropped. I never rolled my eyes. I never went like in Passengers, like, oh, this is okay. Now you've ruined it. It was just a slow erosion until at the end I was like, yeah, all right.
Yeah. It's funny you mentioned Passengers. I just watched Passengers over the past week, I guess. And yeah, that's a movie that is like really good until like the very end when it just says, oh no, this is a Hollywood movie. It's totally not the brutal concept. Ugh.
Have you seen there's a guy on the internet called, I think it's Nerd Writer, and he did a thing where he wanted to recut that movie, Passengers, to where it opens with the depressed spoiler. Sorry, if you haven't watched Passengers, don't worry about it. It wasn't that great.
Don't.
But where it starts with Chris Pratt sort of and Jennifer Lawrence, they're in love and they have this thing, and then you learn later that he woke her up. So essentially switching the first act and the second act.
Yeah.
Instead of having it be to where he's essentially like this weird, creepy stalker dude who Stockholm syndromes this girl. Because that didn't sit right with me either. It's really kind of creepy, it's a very creepy concept for him to do that. And so when they reverse it, that Hollywood ending has a better effect. It's a really cool video if you get a chance to see it. Not saying people should go see other content, but it just goes to show you with sci-fi, it can be one premise away from being bad. And I think with Altered Carbon and with Cloverfield Paradox, they were both really good concepts, really great world building, but they just couldn't follow through with a story that made it work.
Yeah.
Also, same thing with Jupiter Ascending.
Oh,
that's how Netflix gets you, though, is they like, oh, well, maybe Altered Carbon would be better. And then you watch the episode of Altered Carbon, and it's going to suggest something else for you. Like, well, maybe that one will be better. And then maybe eventually you hit something you like. So,
well, and it's like, it's all there for you, not waiting week over week.
Right.
And so it's like, oh, well, I already spent an hour. I
maybe the next one will
someone said to give it 2. Oh, I already spent 2 hours. Well,
sunk cost fallacy. Get you every time.
Yeah.
All right, let's take a quick break to remind you that we are supported entirely by Patreon. We don't have any ads on Cordkillers. It's all you folks making sure that we stay loud, live, and independent in our 5th year. We've been doing this for 4 years now, and it's all because you folks support us. So if we can get enough people on board, we're going to take our Spoiler in Time show, and we're going to break it up by title, so that it'll be easier to access, and you can go back and basically virtually rewatch shows with us. If you missed when we watched, season 5 of Game of Thrones, if you missed when we watched Justified, you can go back and find those easier. We just need to get 1,850 people on Patreon.
We'll do it. Patreon.com/Cordkillers.
Let's talk about how to watch. YouTube TV announced its app is now available for Apple TV, and you can even buy subscriptions in-app. YouTube TV also arrived for Roku Thursday morning. The service includes broadcasts, cloud DVR, program guide. Cost you $35 a month for 40-plus channels. Available now on Apple TV, Roku, Android TV, Xbox One. And YouTube's TV has the exclusive rights to telecasts of the Los Angeles FC MLS games starting in March. That's the second soccer team in Los Angeles. There are now 2 of them.
Sorry, I just don't need to laugh
18
at
games
that,
will be available on a special YouTube TV channel called LAFC and geofence to LA subscribers. And finally, YouTube TV not only available on a bunch of platforms besides your phone, not only experimenting with some exclusive sports deals, but they were a major sponsor of the Super Bowl yesterday.
Yeah.
Good for YouTube. I'm sorry, the second team on the of MLS, which is like the 5th best sport in the United States. I'm like, you're really reaching there. YouTube.
All right, soccer fans, don't write to us.
Sorry.
Exactly.
Sorry.
Well, like it's only in LA. So you only get to see this if you also live in LA. and have YouTube TV.
Yeah, but that's no different than any other like regional baseball or hockey thing. You can only watch the local telecast if you live in the region, or you pay for the big sports package. Yeah. I think what's interesting here, and I get what you're saying, this isn't the NFL, but it's YouTube TV saying, we actually, we're acting like a real cable broadcaster. We're locking up sports rights. And granted, it's the MLS, but the MLS is a fairly successful league. This is not a fly-by-night league or anything. And they're willing to go into a position like this with YouTube TV because they know, well, this is a growth audience. We need to find an audience that is loyal to us because we're not going to do as well. We're not going to get as much money from an NBC or a CBS or something like that. So I think that is an important milestone for YouTube TV, even if it isn't like the big grand gesture that it would be if they've got a more major team.
Yeah. Nate, you said YouTube was a big sponsor of the Super Bowl. Was it YouTube TV or just the
YouTube TV? Yeah, YouTube TV
really?
Specifically was saying, you should be watching the Super Bowl through us. You should be getting all your cable TV channels through us right in front of like shots of the sideline. In fact, they did one commercial early on in a commercial break where they continued to show you what was happening on the field. Not that it was that interesting. It's people milling around on the sidelines while they talked about YouTube TV.
Interesting. So they got me. They got me to want to watch the halftime show with Justin Timberlake, and I don't have a cable subscription. I don't even have a streaming thing. So I thought, well, I wanted to try out YouTube TV, and I go and get the free 7-day trial, and guess what channel I can't get? NBC. I can't get NBC. Yeah. I can only get on-demand NBC in the Austin area.
Yeah.
I ended up watching it on the NBCSports.com stream, which I think was like a minute or two behind. But it was so weird that I tuned in and I was like, why is what? Wow. That seems weird that there are still local blackouts like that, especially because Austin was an earlier city.
I think it's weird. Well, not weird, but it's interesting to see who's going to win the TV battle. Because I think whoever does is going to win the streaming battle in general. Because right now you have YouTube TV, you have Hulu, which is now doing broadcast TV, you have Amazon channels. And I think they're all, to steal the name of your show, the people who are cutting the cord but still want to watch television, there's a market for that, and whoever is able to make it to where your TV will essentially act like a cable box through whichever platform they like, and you can kind of pick and choose by buffet style, like, hey, I don't want this, but I do want that. Whoever's able to corner the market on that is going to be the person that wins, I think, streaming video overall, because they're competing for that, and they're competing for who will be the next Netflix, who's going to do enough original content to where people will pay for it over and over again. And right now, YouTube's trying to do both. And I don't know if either one of them is working out that well for them. So I don't know.
Yeah, I look at what Amazon's doing as kind of splitting the difference, too. They've got Amazon Prime Originals, right? But then they also have the channels thing. But they're not quite doing a cable replacement service. So everybody's trying something different. My instinct has been, we will end up with 3 or 4 of these nationwide live TV providers where you can watch live sports and the Oscars and everything as it happens. And they'll all be bundled in with other services that you will have to buy or add on individually. So like with PlayStation Vue, you can add on HBO. With Sling TV, you can add on HBO. I think you can add on HBO to YouTube TV even as well. Yeah. The question is, where will Netflix go in that world? Because I don't see Netflix starting a cable replacement service.
No. Yeah.
But no, Netflix is strictly, we are a place where you want to go to find our content, either farmed from other people or our own original content. And brilliant for Netflix for seeing they cut to the end of the page long before, because they had all these subscription licenses, and like Hulu, they were battling an uphill battle to get them. And so they were like, well, we need to create our own original content, and we need to make sure that original content is compelling enough to make people keep their subscription even when our stuff goes off the air, because most of these other ones, people turn it off. Like CBS did this great experiment to get people to watch CBS All Access for Star Trek Discovery. That's great. Star Trek Discovery goes off the air next week, and everyone's canceling. Like nobody cares about anything else on that CBS
unless
All
the
Access.
Good Wife people come back for the good fight. Like they have to keep a bunch of these things rolling, and right now they've only got 2.
That's a very specific Venn diagram you're drawing of the CBS All Access.
I don't know
demo.
that they are Venn. I don't know that they overlap.
Yeah,
actually.
there's just some circles.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think even HBO HBO now knows that people cancel after Game of Thrones. And so they're trying to make it to where people do that all along. And HBO, to me, is the one that should be the most compelling, but it isn't yet.
Yeah. The
only one people keep all the time is kind of Netflix. Maybe Amazon, but that's because it comes with their Prime.
Comes with the shipping. Yeah, it's a whole different.
Yeah, it comes with the shipping, so it's like a different thing.
I could see a world where HBO could have been a stronger competitor if they weren't tied to having a weekly schedule to fill out, right?
Yes.
Like if Westworld could just come out all at once, if the new season of Silicon Valley could all come out at once, I think that would be a more compelling attraction for viewers versus tuning in every week, trying to use the app every week. The app changes every week. But like HBO has the ability to make the good content, but they still have to satisfy a TV god, you know?
And they're not perceived as a place to get a bunch of stuff the way Netflix is, even though they are. You go to HBO now, there's a ton of movies, the whole back catalog going back to Sopranos and Sex and the City. But people just don't think of it that way. They think of it as watching the thing that's on now.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm curious if Netflix will ever let themselves get bundled in. Like, will Hulu Live ever sell you a Netflix add-on? Will Amazon ever sell you a Netflix add-on? It's just as much of a question whether those companies will allow it either. But Netflix in its early days was always about, we'll be on every device. We even want to be on Comcast. If you're a Comcast subscriber, you can add Netflix to your cable subscription. But that seems like there's a big gap to jump to be like, and we'll also be an add-on for PlayStation Vue or Sling TV or something like that.
There's a rumor, and this is because, Apple is doing their new platform. And this is a funny thing, and I don't think it will happen. But remember how somebody predicted on The Simpsons that Disney would buy Fox like way, way back when?
Right.
Sure.
So the new thing is Apple buying Disney because they're kind of the only game in town that could afford it. And they're kind of the only game in town where it makes good sense.
Apple buys Disney?
Yeah, because they
After
could.
Disney buys Fox.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because it's the only thing Apple can't do is original content. They can do the technology, they can do the platform, they can do all of the things from behind it, but they can't do the content. And the content is what kind of keeps people in-house more than anything else.
Well, and then they would get BAM Tech as well, which Disney just got.
Yeah. Yes.
Right.
And so, and they're kind of the only, because we talk about how much money Disney has, but when you look at it in relationship to Apple money, it's like nothing.
Right. I think I'm with you that I think that's probably not going to happen because Apple doesn't like to buy more than they need. They like to buy whenever you see Apple's acquisitions, they're always small companies that do a specific thing. I just don't see them buying Disney and everything that goes with it, like theme parks and, or
maybe not, or make it a big conglomerate, though. I don't know. I just know that if they could find a way for that to be a thing, and I think it's a thing from the Disney side, too. Like, it's not like it's more like a Disney knows they need to go someplace else.
Oh, yeah. I see Disney liking that deal for sure.
Yes.
Yeah. This is like when people.
This is pipe dream, but.
Yeah. When people talk about like Apple buying Netflix, I'm always saying, well, sure, Apple would love to buy Netflix. Netflix doesn't want to be bought by anybody, though. Netflix is exactly still in the mindset that they will be the company to buy other companies. So.
Yeah.
All right, let's move along. We've talked about all this stuff about how to watch. Let's talk about what to watch in Under Surveillance.
Not like real estate. It's all about location.
Under surveillance.
We got a whole trailer park filled with trailers after yesterday's Super Bowl. In fact, 2. Where on Saturday we had none. We now have 2 solo trailers, a television spot, really, not a full trailer that came during the Super Bowl, and the full trailer that dropped this morning. Of course, Solo still going to open on May 22nd. My skepticism seems to have been proved wrong. They're not moving the date, and then we've got looks at Han and Lando and Woody Harrelson and more. Jacqueline, what'd you think?
Oh, I just don't care. I'm sorry. Lando was great, but I think this movie's a train wreck and a half.
They didn't tell us anything in these trailers about what the story is, right? And I'm wondering about that. Bryce, what about you?
Again, I think we all know the story with this one, but anytime you change directors midstream, anytime you have all these production delays, the fact that we just now are getting a trailer for a movie that's coming out in 3 months, I just have no faith. I hope it's good. I love Donald Glover.
Maybe that's exactly what they want, Jacqueline. They want you to have zero faith so that when you walk in the theater, you're stunned because you had no expectations.
Look, the Disney hype machine knows how to hype things, and they're not hyping this.
Yeah.
It just is very telling to me.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I am not a professed, storied Star Wars fan. I really did like The Last Jedi, but I don't think that there's anything in this trailer for me necessarily. What did you think, Tom?
I liked it fine. I'm a big Star Wars fan, though, so they have to do a lot to disappoint me. And I got to see a gleaming, shining new Millennium Falcon hallway, and that's the kind of crazy little stuff that I get excited about. So I liked the trailer, but that said, I did not change my expectation for this movie at all, which is pretty much they changed directors midstream. How good is it going to be? It's a guy who doesn't sound anything like Harrison Ford playing Han Solo. How good is it going to be? I think it'll have great moments. I think I'll probably walk away from it feeling like I did with Rogue One. Love elements and disappointed overall.
All right, there you go. Put it down. $50.
Stargate Origins trailer is out. Stargate Origins streams on February 15th. This is from MGM, and it's a web series. So you buy into their Stargate property. It's kind of an interesting way they're doing it, where you don't subscribe to a service. You pay a one-time fee, and you get access to all the previous Stargate series if you want to go back and rewatch them or watch them for the first time. And you're going to get this original series. Looks very Indiana Jones.
Yeah, I was surprised. I don't know a lot about Stargate, but this felt more, globe-trotting adventure than science fiction.
Well, it's set at the discovery of the Stargate rather than all the rest of the Stargate series we've seen, which are set in the modern day and people going through the gate and having adventures in space.
Interesting.
I'll say this. If The Mummy looked like this, I would have been way more hyped for that movie. I felt like this is The Mummy we didn't get. It could be wrong. The trailer did look good. I'll just say that.
Take a tip, MGM. Take a tip. HBO aired a look at season 2 of Westworld during the Super Bowl. Westworld returning on April 22nd. It was kind of a weird thing. It didn't really tell us anything about the season. It just kind of showed the denizens, not to be spoilery, of Westworld talking about their dreams for their world.
Yeah, it looks good. It shows off a lot of action, a lot of war, a lot of conflict, and I'm ready for more of that, And
a mechanical bull.
Yeah. Did you see season 1, Jacqueline?
Yes, I did. It was a slow burn, but still pretty good, in all honesty. It took me a while to get into it, but by episode 6, I was totally wrapped into it. I love Tandy. 2 Tandy properties today.
Yeah, right.
Y'all.
I didn't even think about that. You're right. New TV spot for Avengers Infinity War also dropped during the Super Bowl. That opens on May 4th. I guess the big reveal in here was the gauntlet that Cap has that he seems to have got from Wakanda.
Yeah, that Wakandan upgrade, yo. That was the best moment by far. I loved it.
How hype are you guys getting for Infinity War? Is this too much too soon? When does this come out now? May
4th.
Hey.
Oh, wow. Okay, that's way sooner than I thought.
Mm-hmm. No, I think, again, just to give you the difference, I think Solo comes out either right after or right before Avengers.
Yeah.
And then look at the difference in the two as far as marketing and hype. And if you don't think Disney's trying to hype, Infinity War is just going to make money. That movie just needs to show up and make money. And the fact that they're giving us so much. I having seen Black Panther, it's not like I'm more hyped for Infinity War, but I will tell you that I don't know how to put it. It's added a lot more flavor to my hype. I'll put it to you that way.
Right. It's a lovely, it's like eating a dish at a restaurant and knowing you're going to be able to go back to that same restaurant and sample another dish later, and they're both going to be amazing.
Exactly.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, that'll work.
And speaking of Marvel, Ant-Man and the Wasp trailer came out late last week. That's coming to theaters July 6th.
So is this the first trailer that's came out for Ant-Man and the Wasp?
For the Wasp,
second, right?
For Ant-Man and the Wasp, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, okay. I
don't know. Maybe one or two.
So I didn't see Ant-Man, and I had only seen this trailer today, but I had heard all of the rumors and the rumblings about it. Oh, the Ant-Man and the Wasp, it's going to be a romantic sort of thing. And I guess for some reason, part of my brain thought that meant it would be like a romantic comedy. Like a very
Well, it's got Paul Rudd in it. Of course you thought that.
Do you think it's going to be like Clueless with superheroes? I don't understand.
I don't exactly know. I just heard romantic with superheroes. Okay, I could get down with that. But this also looks really good, like a Marvel movie, but also with a romantic story. I'm in for this.
I mean, it's not the first romantic story they put in a Marvel movie.
I mean, I guess not.
I think of it as more comedic than romantic comedic.
Okay, yeah, that's a good point. No, that is a good distinction.
Well, maybe the difference in this is you have two leads who are superheroes that are gonna get romantic, and I don't. Has there been another one like that where it's like two leads romantic in Marvel ones? Because it's always like the Marvel superhero and regular person.
Because all I can think of is Iron Man and Pepper Potts, and
then Jane and Thor.
Right. Huh.
Yeah, I just think there's, and then Cap and Haley Atwood's character, Mrs. Carter, Agent Carter. There you go.
Agent Carter.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so I think it's all. This is the first one where it's like, okay, these are both going to be superheroes, and maybe they fall in love and get happy and have babies. I don't know.
As the main story, not a Hawk,
as the main
Black
story,
Widow thing off on the sidelines. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, we got a few other things here. Netflix renewed Fuller House for a 4th season, which made me realize they actually did a 3rd season, and I don't know if I noticed that.
4?
Yeah.
Wowzers. I mean, that's great, you know?
Yep.
No, it's not.
I say it's great because I like the Netflix One Day at a Time sitcom that they've been putting out. If that means that sitcoms can get more on Netflix, then I'm okay with that.
So disappointed in the world that we have 4 seasons of Full House, and I got 1 season of My So-Called Life. Like, there's just no justice in the world. Or 1 season of Firefly, whatever.
Not even a full season either, right?
Not even a full season, exactly.
Yeah. Some staffing information to make it sound really boring. Jesse Alexander, who worked on Hannibal and Star Trek Discovery, has been announced as the new showrunner for American Gods, taking over for Brian Fuller. Brian Fuller kind of itinerant these days. Like, he came in to get Discovery off the ground, but didn't even become the showrunner. He did 1 season of American Gods and took off from there. But at least it's going to come back, and Jesse Alexander's working closely with Neil Gaiman, who's sticking around, obviously. He's the creator of the book that the show is based on, so he is going to be integral to making this show happen.
Did you guys see?
I hope it's good.
Yeah, did you see American Gods season 1 all the way through?
I did. I liked it. I'm one of the few people that I was in for it. We saw it at South by, and then I followed it after that because I thought it was one of the most interesting pilots I'd seen in a long time.
Interesting. Is there a date yet for this? Has it even started production?
Oh,
I think they just announced Jesse Alexander as the showrunner. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
There's no date.
Oh, they haven't even started shooting yet?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I think they're going into production now.
Got it.
Oh, okay.
Now that they've got the showrunner. And HBO's Watchmen pilot will be directed by The Leftovers' Nicole Castle. This is a Damon Lindelof production, among others. And it's going to take the Watchmen graphic novel and turn it into a series rather than a single movie, which I think actually is probably a better bet. It's a lot to squeeze into a movie.
Yeah, I think it should have been that way, at least a miniseries to begin with. I know this was before the golden age of television, and we thought we could do this, but I seriously think that we could have had a much better version than what we got as far as
it was
even the
before
extended cut.
It was before the MCU had even taken off. where you would think about like, oh, maybe we do 3 Watchmen movies. Like it was before that even. So
Yeah.
HBO has acquired J.J. Abrams' Demimonde sci-fi series. Series will supposedly tell the story of a daughter of a scientist who's in a coma, and while looking through her mother's notes, she ends up being transported to another world where a dark force threatens to consume everything. So it's J.J. Abrams' version of A Wrinkle in Time, then?
I have no idea.
Yeah,
this is one of those ones where you snuck it past the goalpost. I hadn't heard about this before.
Yeah, I mean, I hadn't heard it before I saw this story a couple of days ago, and J.J. Abrams selling shows like hotcakes, right? Like cronuts out there. But this is one that a lot of people thought Netflix was going to get, and HBO got it instead. So possibly a big win for HBO if this ends up being a good one. Netflix and Univision have teamed up on El Chapo. We've talked about that before, and I guess that went so well, they're going to partner on at least 5 more shows. First show out of the gate will be Tijuana, a Spanish-language show about a web of corruption that unfolds when reporters investigate the assassination of a presidential candidate. So not based on a true story, but based on true life type events.
That El Chapo show is pretty good. I started it over the holidays with my dad, and he really seemed to take to it. So there you go.
And good for both companies involved here as well.
Yeah.
Finally, Variety says Netflix is in talks with Luc Besson for a multi-picture deal at $30 million per picture. Netflix might also purchase rights to the Eurocorp film library. That would include Taken, Taxi, Transporter franchises, and even might buy the company. So earlier when I was mentioning,
Valerian bankrupted it.
Yeah. And so this fits in with a couple of things we were saying earlier. One, Netflix wants to buy stuff, not be bought. And second, Netflix doesn't care if you hate watch stuff.
So I forgot to mention this. There was something that I almost forgot. The apex of like quality for at-home viewing is something that has not yet been quantified also. I do feel we have not been able to adjust to this idea that people, as far as like Netflix and Amazon movies, maybe not television shows, if you're sitting on your couch and you just have to turn on your remote, so long as it's not god-awful, you'll probably be okay with it. Meanwhile, if it's a television show, you're not going to show back up for it. You're not going to binge it through the weekend. So I think like when you look at the Netflix shows, they're really high quality and they're really great. But when you look at the movies, they're maybe not, but they're still successful. I think that's why. Getting someone to commit for an hour and a half to turn on the TV while kids are probably running around and maybe they're doing other things, totally different. And they would still be like thumbs up as opposed to going to the theater. I have done that
before where I put on a movie, not a TV series, because if it's a TV series, I want to pay attention because I'm going to have to follow a plot line. Like you said, from episode to episode. But when I put on a movie that I don't want to pay attention to because I'm doing something else, like darning socks or whatever, I'll put on a bad movie. I'll put on a movie that either I've seen before or I'm like, I know I don't need to pay that close attention.
I raged watched Suicide Squad probably like 6 times after that came out.
6?
It was really weird. I don't know what it was with me in that movie. It was because I loved it so much every minute before I went and watched it that I kept on having to go back on it like you do with a relationship that went really wrong, where you're just like, what happened? We were so happy.
Where did we go wrong, Suicide Squad?
Why did this go so wrong? And I did. I and it wasn't like really watching it, but I would put it on HBO Go, put it on in the background, and then just like roll my eyes and get angry at it progressively. It's so often. It was a very strange summer for me. I don't know why.
It's a real need, though. I don't think you're alone in that.
I know. Hearing about Suicide Squad again makes me want to rewatch it just to figure out what the hell was wrong with that movie.
Look, okay, and not to take it too far divergent, look at the elements. They had the director of Fury at End of Watch. You had Will Smith, Margot Robbie cast as Harley Quinn. Take my money. Take my money. Jai Courtney managed not to mess that movie up. And how they screwed that up, I'm still baffled by it.
Yeah.
Still
there's another one where maybe an edit might help.
Yeah.
Maybe.
or
Can you-
maybe spending more than 6 weeks writing the script.
Yeah.
I think is really the thing.
I know. Is there any way you can edit in more backstory for that one character who's just like, "Hi, I'm also in this movie. Let's go."
Just get rid of him.
Remember that?
Yeah. You just edit him
cut him
out.
out. Oh, okay.
Slipknot, who's here, literally, he was a red shirt without a red shirt. That guy was dead. And like, I remember that poor actor on the press tour having to answer questions about a movie that he's in for like 5 minutes. I'm like, God, dude, your job.
I know this isn't how it happened, but I remember it as him introducing himself and getting shot, like, immediately.
You did.
It's practically what happened.
Himself, 5 minutes, and then he was the one guy that wanted to test the system, and they killed whatever. Written just to be killed.
All right, let's talk about what we're watching. This is a segment where we just talk about things that, in the past week we've seen, and for everybody probably watched a little bit of the Super Bowl at some point. I watched a lot of the Puppy Bowl, and we both talked about watching Cloverfield Paradox. I guess the thing that would be unusual that you might not expect, I watched Victoria and Abdul, the movie from just last year with Judi Dench as Victoria, and delightful. I watched it because my wife wanted to watch it. We've been watching a lot of the Victoria TV series on PBS and enjoying that. And so we're like, hey, let's just check this out and get a different perspective on that same character. And just wonderful, just enjoyable. And one of those things where maybe if I'd gone in the theater, I might not have liked it as much because I was in a theater and it kind of raises your expectations. But sitting on my couch, it was a great movie.
I think you're right on that because I saw that one in the theater and I was like, Judy, you've done so much better. It wasn't bad, though, to your point. And I know your wife's love of period things because I have that same love. And young Victoria and the current Crown and then also Victoria. We talk about those a lot. But yeah, no, I didn't hate it, but it was just one of those like, this is kind of a meh period piece that's put up here for Oscar bait. It was okay.
What about on your screens? Anything on your screens this week that you can talk about?
Like I said, I saw Altered Carbon, and I'm sure I'm going to get hate for this. I didn't hate it. It was just kind of meh. It didn't wow me. I've just been seeing a lot of mediocre sci-fi, and it's sort of like pizza. Like, even when it's bad, it's still okay, so it's not enough for me to hate it. But I think I'm ready to have something, blow my mind a little bit. And I think maybe I've just got too much in the tank sci-fi wise to where I can't find that thing, but I'm itching for it. I'm itching for one of those movies that you watch, like the first time you saw, Cloverfield Lane, where you're like, oh my God, with like a twist and really compelling characters. So that was kind of meh. But then I also, again, watched the Cloverfield Paradox, which y'all could discuss later. But yeah, that's pretty much been the main things. Oh, I finished everything effing it's the end of the effing world.
End of the effing world.
Yes.
That's such a cute little show, and it goes very
really
fast.
Yeah, very fast binge. But yeah, that's pretty much what I've been getting.
Cool.
I think the problem with Altered Carbon, because I've read the book twice, is that Takeshi Kovacs is almost like a Han Solo character from my perception in the book. He's got a smirk. He's got a sense of humor. And the Takeshi Kovacs in the Netflix series is very solemn and very serious. And it just makes a lot of stuff fall flat that I think would work a lot better.
Yeah.
Did you enjoy it from what you've seen? Because you're watching it, right?
Yeah, I've watched 3 episodes of it, and I enjoy most of it, but it's not great. I'm not coming away with it psyched because I've seen this great story. It's like individual pieces, like, oh, this is the AI hotel, awesome. Oh, this is this is the place where he goes and talks to the data broker. Cool. I can't wait to see that come alive on the screen, and that part's been great. But just the overall story is not having the same impact. I keep saying, well, wait a minute. Why did I like this scene so much more when I read it than when I'm seeing it acted out? And I think that's why.
Yeah, I get what
I don't know about Joel Kinnaman either, me personally.
It's real good in House of Cards, but yeah, I don't know. Also, I've been watching Poldark. I should make sure that I mention that.
Yes. I love that your wife makes you watch these things.
It's willing, believe me. This is
you
not
like
a
it? Okay.
This This is not an unwilling thing. I'm actually secretly very excited that you're getting her to watch these, Jacqueline, because I've liked to watch all this like period English stuff for years. All I could get her into before now was Downton Abbey. So I'm pretty pleased.
Yeah, get her a BritBox subscription, and she'll be a happy person. It's another cord cutting service. You can get it added on to Amazon for like $5.
Yeah, I popped it up and was tooling around, just kind of trying to be like, hey, you want to watch this? You want to watch that?
Yeah, get it.
All right, Bryce, what are folks telling us we should be on the lookout for?
Hey, we got an email about a show you've probably heard us talk about a little bit before from Poodle Puncher. He writes, hey, Bryce, not sure if anyone has mentioned it, but there's a new J.K. Simmons show on Starz called Counterpart. The pilot was released in December, and it's amazing. The story revolves around a super secret government organization where employees are kept on a need-to-know basis. Simmons plays a mid-level employee that is sucked into the conspiracy with a very Cold War feel and a sci-fi twist. Check it out if you have the time. Yeah, we're talking about this currently on Spoiler in Time, our sister show to this. We're on, what is it, episode 3 now, Tom?
Yeah.
And it's a weird thing. I'm still like, I watched the 3rd episode just before we recorded this, and I remember sitting there and like, this is cool, and I like mostly follow it, but it's cool, and it's J.K. Simmons both playing like this really like tough, badass, super spy, but also this like very like meek and humbled office worker, and it's great acting chops, and you know, I hope it becomes something more solid. It's kind of nebulous right now for my taste, but it's kind of neat if you are into that. That's on Starz. It's airing weekly now, and you can get Starz as a Amazon channel if that's easier for you.
Yeah. I think it's cool both to see J.K. Simmons show both sides of him on the same screen sometimes, but also how they've got these alternate universes and they only let you see this much. Like they really just make you slobber to find out more about the world, and they just give you tiny little piece at a time. Yeah. And yet focus on a compelling spy mystery story in the center of it all.
Yeah, it's something if you're going to watch it, you really need to give it like your full attention. There's parts in this 3rd episode that we will talk about a little later that I felt like I was having whiplash because I was trying to follow who was from which universe and what everyone's motivations were, and I couldn't keep the tempo.
I thought you were making a whiplash joke because of J.K. Simmons.
I didn't mean to, but it just happened. So
yeah. Hey, if you got something we should be on the lookout for, email us cordkillers@gmail.com. What's that show that you're like, oh my gosh, you have to watch this? Let us know. cordkillers@gmail.com. Real quickly, Brian and I do a bunch of stuff besides Cord Killers to help pay the bills, and one of the things I do is write books. So if you're looking for a sci-fi book that will tell you about a colony ship that has forgotten what it is, and a scientific corps that has decided to treat itself like a religious agency in order to get the respect of the people left on the ship, check it out. Bavaria, TomMerrittBooks.com. Let's move on to the front lines.
Front lines!
Speaking of watching the Super Bowl yesterday, Hulu Live caused errors at the worst moment for viewers. The last few minutes of a Super Bowl, which was very dramatic because the Patriots could have come back. They could have won. They could have tied. And Hulu subscribers were just getting error messages. Hulu posted on Twitter it was a technical error causing the problems, and restarting the app should restore the feed. But of course, by the time most people saw that, the game was over. There were also some PlayStation View fans who experienced an interruption in the early part of the game. This is how I watched it, actually, on PlayStation View. I never had an interruption, thankfully, but in certain regions, apparently there were, and restarting the app fixed that. And NBC's broadcast itself cut out. I don't know if everybody noticed that couple of seconds of black at one point, but it just went to a black screen, and NBC said, yeah, we didn't lose any games. We didn't lose any commercials. It was just a technical glitch. So nobody did it well yesterday.
It was it last year or the Super Bowl before that had like the big blackout at the stadium?
Oh, the actual power outage. Yeah.
I remember that.
You would think it's only the biggest television event of the whole year. I don't know.
It's also really
maybe
complex.
Maybe it was all the Prince lights outside.
Yeah.
Timberlake shorted the circuits.
Possibly.
Yeah. TiVo flipped around its commercial skip DVR function for the Super Bowl. Usually after a show is recorded, pressing the green button will skip through the commercials, but for the Super Bowl, pressing the green button skips through the game to get to the commercials. This is a cute idea.
I didn't try it. I should have.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you just wanted to see the commercials, didn't want to watch the game, or you couldn't see them during the game, you want to watch them again, I guess that's kind of cool.
Huh. That's a very clever. It almost you kind of wish TiVo was a more like cult, like a thing we talked about a little bit
more currently relevant.
Yeah.
Is that what you're trying to say,
This
Bryce?
would have been really good. Say 5 or 10 years ago.
Talk about losing the market, though. TiVo was the thing for
right?
4 years, and then they when cable subscribers were able to get it, it just went away.
Yeah.
I'm telling TiVo can still make the comeback. It's not too late, but they just have to market themselves as the box that does all the streaming, and they're slowly getting back to that. We'll see. AT&T CEO Randall Stevenson confirmed the next update to DirecTV Now will launch this spring. The cloud-based DVR, as well as interface upgrades, will come to everyone, not just beta testers. When we went through services last week, remember I said DirecTV Now not quite in the same class as the rest yet because it doesn't have that cloud DVR, but it's getting it. So by summer, you should be able to, on the feature by feature basis, be able to compare DirecTV Now to everything else.
That's awesome. DreamWorks TV from Comcast's Awesomeness. Wait, what? Launched its...
Comcast owns Awesomeness, which makes Awesomeness TV, and they also make DreamWorks TV.
Got you. I got you. Launched its age 6 to 12 programming block on Amazon channels for $5 a month. DreamWorks TV's launched some content on YouTube in 2014. If Brian Brushwood was here, he would talk about the kid element of DreamWorks TV and Awesomeness, but
yeah,
I cannot fulfill that demo today.
We'll find out soon. He's a big fan of the Amazon add-on channels. So
yeah.
And finally, Hulu Live is letting customers choose which Olympic sports they want to see front and center once coverage starts February 8th through the 25th. It doesn't have all the sports, and it's not going to hide the rest of the sports, but it'll put the ones that you say you like up top when you're going through what's airing and what to watch off the DVR.
Well, that's smart. I mean, there's so much Olympics content, and it's spread over so many channels on like terrestrial TV or cable TV, whatever, that this is a dead simple thing. If you want to go watch the Olympics, and if Hulu gets all the right streaming licenses from NBC to access most of this stuff, this sounds like a very quick way to get in on exactly what you care about in like this tsunami of way too much.
Yeah, I always go right to the NBC Sports app because they let you log in with PlayStation View, Hulu Live, whatever your credentials are, and then you just get everything. It's all right there.
Yeah, the Olympics is always this weird thing. Like, especially like the Summer Olympics, I know why I pay attention, but the Winter Olympics, I forget why I care until it gets there. And I remember, oh, this is the only time I care about hockey. This is the only time I care about figure skating. And I get excited about it again. But every time it's like, why is everyone so excited about the Olympics? And then like, oh, I remember because we're highly competitive and hate other people. I'm just kidding. No.
For highly competitive misanthropes, the Winter Olympics coming soon to NBC. All right, let's get to some dispatches from the front. Our boss, Rob, writes in and says, hey, I appreciate the services roundup last week in episode 205, but it did leave one question unanswered. What is the best/cheapest service to gain access to the Olympics? I have an over-the-air antenna going into a hoppage card with my Plex server as my DVR for over-the-air NBC coverage, but that is only usable for the small portion of coverage. What would be the cheapest service to get all the streams? Are there any Olympics buffet apps where you pay a one-time fee and get to access everything? Pertinent to our conversation just moments ago, I don't know which one gets you access to everything for the cheapest, but the cheapest one you can get that gets you some access is Sling TV. So if you go to Sling TV and you get their basic package, I think it's $20 or $25, that will allow you to log into the NBC Sports TV app and get the Olympic coverage through the NBC Sports app. And it's that buffet that you're talking about. That would be the cheapest way to get coverage. I don't know that it will unlock every single bit of coverage. For that, you might have to upgrade to something like a PlayStation Vue for $40 or maybe a Hulu Live.
Yeah. Hulu Live is, I think, the way I was going to go about it because they've added that add-on. It seems okay. I tried it for the trial and 1 month after that, and then I was like, I don't really need this, but Olympics, I'm down.
Yeah, and they're getting, Super Bowl aside, they're getting more stable with their stream, obviously.
Yeah.
Perfect.
That's good. Here we go. We got one from Armando who writes, Dear Cordkillers, great episode. Very much enjoyed the quick recap of options for live streaming providers. You could have included Fubo.tv or Philo, but I can see why those haven't made it to the next level. Also, in addition to the recode link to compare the various services that was in the show notes last week, I'd again support a mention to Suppose.tv, which has been discussed previously on your show. That might have been the site Brian was searching for when he posed the question. Again, guys, great work. Definitely will be supporting your efforts, and I look forward to more of the same over the next 4 to 5 years. Warm regards, Armando. Thank you, Armando.
Yeah, thanks for that. Fubo and Philo are really interesting. And yeah, they focus, like Fubo TV is focused on sports, but it's not all the major sports necessarily. But it's a specialty one if like that's your thing. Philo is another interesting one to take a look at because they focus on a particular network's package. It's one of the things that Viacom is doing. So you definitely want to check those out. They're not the broad spectrum that Hulu, YouTube TV, and PlayStation Vue are.
And Suppose, he got it right. Suppose.tv was the like crazy awesome app that we saw a while back where you pick the channels that you care about and it'll show you the various plans, the various offers on all of these streaming sites. So check that out also.
That's the one. That's the one I want to take a look at. In fact, if you want to figure out which one has the most NBC Sports channels for your Olympic coverage, that might be a good one. Suppose.tv. Finally, Jason
every
McIntyre.
channel, right? They have Olympics coverage on, like everything that's NBC, even like the sci-fi thingies too.
Yeah, USA runs a lot of that content.
USA,
I don't know that they put anything on Sci-Fi last time around. I'll be curious. But yeah, pretty much everything else. Bravo, USA, all of them. That's a really good point when you're comparing channels. You're going to want to compare some channels that aren't called NBC because they'll probably have sports.
Yeah.
Finally, Jason wrote in and said, just finished up episode 205. One thing that I haven't heard mentioned on the show about DirecTV Now is that if you have an unlimited plan with AT&T, DirecTV Now is only $10 a month. This is what finally pushed me over the cord-cutting cliff. I went from spending $200 for cable, phone, and internet to only having Charter internet, $65, and DirecTV Now for $10. That being said, I have noticed that DirecTV Now buffers a lot and can be a bit frustrating to watch at peak times, but since cutting the cord, I've noticed how little I miss cable. DirecTV Now is mostly used for Nick Jr., Disney Jr., and authentication for other services, including HBO Go. The real test will be once baseball is back and I can no longer watch the Cardinals on my DVR after the kids go to bed. MLB.TV, here I come. Thank you, Jason.
I wonder if that $10 is a promotional plan. The thing I'm seeing online is $20 if you have AT&T Unlimited.
Oh, maybe they changed it.
Maybe you should do a chicken challenge on that.
These offers may vary, so check it out.
Hey, Jack, I have a question for y'all before we go. I'm just curious. What do you guys think is the dollar amount that people will be willing to spend as cord cutters for whatever they decide to do before they're like, I can't do this anymore? Because it's getting buffet style where you can kind of have too many. Like I got rid of a couple recently.
I feel like the cable replacement service is like $39.95. That's the magic number. Nobody wants to pay more than $40. If you can keep it under $40, then people love it. That plus maybe the Hulu Basic, maybe the Amazon Prime, maybe the Netflix. I think it's got to be around 100, don't you?
In all?
Yeah, total for everything.
If you think of
that's what I meant, total. Yeah.
I mean, I guess we have to compare it to like a cable plan, right? Which, man, I don't know.
Keep in mind, most people pay for cable and Netflix and Amazon. Yeah. So I never count Netflix and Amazon when I'm comparing whether you're saving money by cutting the cord.
That's interesting. Maybe we could get to the emails if you guys know how much you would spend in total for streaming.
Yeah.
Cordkillers@gmail.com. I started up that YouTube TV trial the other day, And when I was thinking about it again, I was like, how much is that going to be if I don't cancel that trial? And it was like 35, 37 with tax or something. And I thought that's maybe more than I need for that.
Okay.
But I also maybe don't need DVR and a live channel or anything. So we'll see.
That's funny because I was talking to a guy who cut the cord, and I was mentioning YouTube TV as the cheapest because it's $35. And he said, yeah, when I compare that to Netflix, it seems expensive. And I'm like, well, compare it to Comcast or Charter.
Yeah.
And he's like,
Sling,
oh,
yeah.
right. I didn't think of it that way. And I think that's the problem for a lot of these services is people are comparing them to $10 a month, not comparing them to $100 a month.
Yeah. But I went on the YouTube TV, and it was like, it's not just the live channels. It really like surfaces on demand and like movies really highly. And I think that's kind of where you get this weird back and forth where YouTube has so much VOD content on and off of actual YouTube.com that it creates a different experience. Yeah.
Totally. Well, Jacqueline, thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, thank you guys. I appreciate it. It was a lot of fun. I want to add in one parting shot because I did see your chat feature, which I think is amazing. And I'm very well aware that there's always a red shirt in the Suicide Squad. But I think for the movie, they could have done better. Saying.
I mean,
I have to give that as my parting shot.
The problem was not the red shirt. The problem was how the red shirt was handled.
Yeah.
Very much
Absolutely. Well, Jacqueline, if people want to find more of what you're doing online, where should they go?
You can find me pretty much on every platform as that Jacqueline. Twitter, Insta, Facebook, all of the funness. And obviously, blackgirlnerds.com is where you see a lot of my work. And also at Rotten Tomatoes, See It, Skip It show. We're about to come off a hiatus pretty soon here.
I was going to ask, when is that great show with an amazing staff coming back?
I would say ask your wife. No, I'm just kidding. No, soon. I can't give you details other than to say that it's very soon. And there's a film coming out.
What people should do is find See It, Skip It on Facebook and make sure to favorite it or like it so that they know when it comes back.
Exactly. Favor, like, subscribe, turn on notifications for the See It, Skip It Facebook page. Hit me up on Twitter. You'll know.
Excellent. Thanks again, Jacqueline.
Thank you, guys.
Our website is cordkillers.com. Our email address is cordkillers@gmail.com. And we're live on diamondclub.tv and twitch.tv/Night Attack. Mondays at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. We'll talk to you next week.
Hey, guys. Tom and Brian here. We just wanted to say thank you to all of our $5 patrons who keep us loud, live, and independent. You guys make Cordkillers the production that it is.
Your name appears in the video credits and appears in our hearts. And if you'd like to become one of them or see who they are, you can go to patreon.com/Cordkillers.
You'll need to do more than just go there, though. You'll have to sign up and, pledge an amount. But
unless you just want to see who they are.
Well, I mean, you could gawk. That's a little creepy, isn't it?
If you want to be a gawker,
let's go.
It's up to you.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.